Namaskar and my greetings to all of you on this auspicious day of Ram Janma, Ram Navami, Chaitra Shukla Navami. There are so many things to talk about Ramayana. However, I am going to focus on one critical aspect of Ramayana, and that is, when did the Ramayana happen? Now, any researcher who wants to answer a question like this, solve a problem like this, must follow 3 steps of scientific investigation. In step 1, a researcher has to formulate his theory, explore, brainstorm all possible solutions that may solve this problem. You can call it a guess, it is a guess, a conjecture, or a hypothesis. Step 1, you have to state your theory. And a good scientific theory has one or few universal statements. The universal statement of my theory in solving the problem of timing of Ramayana is this: all the astronomy observations of Valmiki Ramayana are factual and or visual observations of the sky of Ramayana times. Step 1. Once we have a theory, let's go to step 2. We have to calculate the consequences because of the theory in solving the problem. And I'll explain what I mean by calculating or computing consequences. In step 3, we actually look at the evidence, in this case evidence of Valmiki Ramayana, and do its comparison with the consequence of a theory. If the two match, it's a good news because we failed to disprove our theory. Now that's a good thing. The next thing we will do is to look at another observation of Valmiki Ramayana and another and another, and this process can continue indefinitely until we are exhausted, or we think we are exhausted, of all the observations that can be tested. Now, before we jump into the specific observations of Valmiki Ramayana, we need to become familiar with 3 aspects of astronomy. First is cardinal points. Second, different seasons of the year. And third, a phenomenon called precession of equinoxes. Let's begin with the cardinal points. There are 4 cardinal points. The day of winter solstice, 21st December. The day of summer solstice, 21st June. The day of spring equinox, 23rd March. The day of fall equinox, 23rd September. The day of summer solstice is the longest day, shortest night in northern hemisphere. The day of winter solstice is the shortest day, longest night, again in northern hemisphere. Now, similar things would also happen in the southern hemisphere, but we are going to focus our attention only on the northern hemisphere because that's where India is and that's where Ramayana happened. What these cardinal points have to do with the seasons of the year? There are 6 seasons and they have a connection with the cardinal points. So let's begin with the point of winter solstice, 21st December. If we go from winter solstice to the point of summer solstice, approximately 6 months, the first 2 months is basically winter season or Shishira Rutu. The middle 2 months, with March 23rd as the middle of that, is Vasanta Rutu, and the last 2 months leading to the day of summer solstice is Grishma Rutu. Now, going from summer solstice to winter solstice, again we have 3 Rutus. From summer solstice, first 2 months is Varsha Rutu. The middle 2 months, with 23rd September as a center point of that middle season, is Sharad Rutu, and the last 2 months leading to the day of winter solstice or Hemant Rutu. Essentially, that's where the position of sun is as seen from the earth on those days. Now, in order to define the position of the sun, we use the reference frame of 27 nakshatra. These are the stars far away from solar system, and we can define the position of the sun based on this nakshatra as seen from the earth. So if we draw a line from the earth going through the sun all the way to the background nakshatra reference frame, we would say sun is in so and so nakshatra on the day of winter solstice. Now, the third aspect of astronomy is this phenomenon of precession of equinoxes. Now, what is it? Again, let's go back to the sun at the center of our solar system and earth rotating around the sun. As it rotates, it is inclined at an angle. And now this angle doesn't change, at least not immediately. And that's why we have seasons. Now, the axis of the earth, if extended up in the sky, where it points in the sky is the point of north celestial pole. And if there is a distinct star next to this point, we call that star our North Pole star. Now, this phenomenon of precession of equinoxes is this. Earth's axis is pointing somewhere up in the sky, but it's not steady. The Earth's axis, or rather where it points, it moves, it continues to move slowly and completes one circle, one rotation in this gyratory motion. It does it very slowly and it takes about 26,000 years. Now that is precession of equinoxes. Now this phenomenon of precession of equinoxes has many interesting consequences, but we are going to look at 3 consequences. Those are relevant in interpreting our observations of Valmiki Ramayana. At least the 4 observations I am going to describe today. The first consequence of the precession of equinoxes is that because the Earth's axis is moving, rotating and making a circle, therefore what we consider a North Pole star at any given point will change. Remember that. Second consequence, for the very same reason, the nakshatra that aligns with these cardinal points of winter solstice, summer solstice, fall equinox, spring equinox, they will also change, also shift, and they will complete one circle again in 26,000 years. So the reference point in the language of nakshatra for these cardinal points will also change. Now, the third consequence is actually due to the second consequence, which is because the nakshatras are changing for a given cardinal point, the corresponding lunar month, that is the month of Indian calendar, Chaitra, Vaishak, Jeshta, Ashad and so on, they will also change. In other words, for every 2000 years, the season would shift by about 1 month with respect to the Indian lunar calendar or Indian lunar month. With this information, we are ready to jump into specific observations of Valmiki Ramayana and see where they lead us as far as the timing of Ramayana is concerned. I am going to quote 4 specific observations from 4 different kanda of Valmiki Ramayana. Let's begin with our first reference. It is from Ayodhya Kanda. Ram is 17 years old. In fact, he's going to have his 17th birthday in 2 or 3 days. And Dashrath has decided to do the Yuvrajabhishek of Ram. He's telling his ministers, and he's also describing the season. The month is that of Chaitra, and Dashrath says, Chaitram Sri Manayam Masa Punya Pushpita Kanana Yavvarajaya Ramasya Sarvamevopakapata. The first line is very important. Chaitram Sri Manayam Masa Punya Pushpita Kanana. This month of Chaitra, auspicious and pleasant month of Chaitra, where forests are blooming with flowers. And I want to do Rajabhishek of Ram. Now, if you want to understand the past, we have to begin with the present. In our times, lunar month of Chaitra falls in the second half of Vasanta Ritu. 23rd March is the middle of Vasanta Ritu. So we are in the second half. Because of this phenomenon of precession of equinoxes, if we go back by 2000 years, we will find Chaitra Mas coincides with the first part of Vasanta season. If we go back by 4000 years to 2000 BC, we will find Chaitra Mas coincides with the second part of winter season. And if we go back by 6000 years to 4000 BC, we will find now Chaitra Mas coincides with the first part of winter season. Now we know Ramayana did not happen today. We also know Dashratha's description of Chaitra Mas, which is Punya Pushpita Kanana, forest blooming with flowers. So we can quickly and easily eliminate Shishirutu, Hemantarutu, Grishmarutu, especially later part of Grishmarutu and early part of Varsharutu. So essentially we are left with two Rutus, either Vasantarutu or Sharatrutu. In our time, Chaitra Mas coincides with Vasantarutu, and we know Ramayana did not happen in our time. It did not happen 2000 years ago. It did not happen 4000 years ago. So now, using this knowledge of precession of equinoxes, we have to go backwards in time until we can find the first instance. By first instance, I mean the latest instance, when descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana for lunar month of Chaitra would match with what we should expect to see in the nature. And for that, we would have to go halfway through the precession of equinoxes to at least 13,000 years. That means at least 11,000 BC. Before Chaitra Mas, that also coincides with forest blooming with flowers, matches with the description of Valmiki Ramayana. So remember this 11,000 BC. Now, you might say, that's all your reference. Fortunately, no. Ayodhya Kand has anywhere from 4 to 8 specific references in the form of descriptions, in the form of analogies, where Chaitra Mas or the description of Chaitra Mas are compared with the Sharad season. But I'm going to quote one more reference from Ayodhya Kand, which does not explicitly use the word Sharad Ritu, but the descriptions are very clear. As soon as Dashrath expressed his desire, all the ministers and king gave a shout of approval. And Valmiki describes this scene as follows. Iti bruvanta mudita pratyananda nrupanrupam. Iti bruvanta mudita pratyananda nrupanrupam. Vrishtimantam mahamegam nardantam iva barhina. And their joyous shout appeared like a peacock who gives a joyous cry anytime he sees dark, big clouds ready to pour the rain. Now this is a description of Sharad Ritu. There are 4 to 8 additional references. I'll skip it for now. I want you to remember 11,000 BC for now. Let's go to the second reference of Valmiki Ramayana. It is from the Aranyakanda. Ram, Lakshman, Sita are already in the Vanvas. They have completed 10 plus years of Vanvas and now settled near Panchavati along the bank of Godavari. Valmiki describes the scene and describes the season. It says Sharad Ritu is over and Hemanta Ritu is at its peak. And there are beautiful descriptions of Hemanta Ritu in Valmiki Ramayana. And one of these days, Lakshman is describing the scene to Ram and Sita. And he's saying the sun is setting on the western horizon during this time of Hemanta Rutu near Nakshatra Pushya. Nivritta Akasha Shayana Pushya Nita Himaruna Shita Vruddhatarayama Triyama Yanti Sampratam. Again, first line is important. Nivritta Akasha Shayana Pushya Nita Himaruna. The sun is setting near Nakshatra Pushya at the time of Hemanta Rutu. If you want to understand the past, we have to understand the present. Begin with the present. In our times, we can find the point of winter solstice, which is the representative for the end of Hemanta Rutu, near Nakshatra Mula or Purvashada. It is between these two nakshatras. We have to go back to the time to find out a situation when we would able to say that sun can be described setting near Nakshatra Pushya during the time of Hemanta season. Again, if we have to do that, again we will use the precision of equinoxes, and we will have to go back to at least 13,000 years, that means to 11,000 BC. Again, at least 11,000 BC. The actual time period would run from 11,000 BC to 16,000 BC. This is reference number 2. Let's go to reference number 3. This time the reference is from Sundarkand. After Ram killed Wali, they decided to wait near Kishkinda for 4 rainy months. So definitely 2 months of Varsha Rutu and some part of Sharad Rutu. And then all the Vanara parties came together. They were split into 4 groups. Sugriv gave them a time limit of 1 month to search for Sita. And these Vanara parties left in all directions. They went east, they went west, they went north, they went south. The southern party was led by Angad and Hanuman and others. They started their journey sometime at the end of Sharad Rutu. And Valmiki Ramayana again gives wonderful descriptions how they could find enough fruits and roots and leaves, all of that. And as the time proceeded, they couldn't find any of this. That's possibly the timing of Hemanta Rutu or Shishir Rutu. In any case, Valmiki Ramayana describes, as the southern party is looking for Sita everywhere, that they started seeing the signs of Vasanta Rutu. They have left at the end of Sharad Rutu, and now they're seeing the signs of Vasanta Rutu. And that's very frustrating to them, because the time limit set by Sugriv has elapsed a long time ago. They are searching for Sita for a few months now, and they have not found her. Angad is saying in the frustration, how are we going to achieve our objectives? I see that the Vasanta Rutu all around us, and lunar month of Ashwin is here, and even that seems to be elapsing. Angad says, Vayam Ashwa Yuje Masi Kala Sankhya Vyavastita Prastita Sopi Chatita Kimata Karyamuttaram. There is Vasanta Rutu around, even that is passing away. And there is this lunar month of Ashwin, and that is passing away. The important reference is the connection of Ashwin Mas with Vasanta Rutu. If you want to understand the past, we have to understand the present. We have to begin with the present. Just like we did this for Chaitra Mas and moved it from Vasanta Rutu to Sharad Rutu, going backwards by 13,000 years, we have to do the same with Ashwin Mas. In our times, Ashwin Mas arrives towards the second part of Sharad Rutu. So if we have to go backwards and find out a time that matches with the descriptions of Ramayana, again we have to go back by at least 13,000 years to at least 11,000 BC. Let's quickly go to the observation number 4. This is from a Yuddha Kand. Southern party came to Kishkinda with the news whereabouts of Sita, and Ram, Lakshman, Sugriv, Angad, Hanuman, all the Vanara army, all the Vanara leaders, they left for Lanka in a hurry. There is a sense of urgency, and therefore they are traveling through the day and night. And obviously at night they are looking at the stars to ensure they are traveling in the right direction. There are many critical, interesting, very useful astronomy observations in this section. again, I'm going to focus on only one, and that is when Lakshman describes the North Pole Star of Ramayana times. And he also describes how the Saptarshis are going around this North Pole Star. And what is the description of the North Pole Star? Lakshman says, Brahma Rashir Vishuddhasya Shuddhasya Paramarshaya Archishmantah Prakashante Dhruvam Sarve Pradakshinam. Brahma Rashi is our pole star, shining brightly, and all the Saptarshis are making pradakshina around this Dhruva star or Dhruva Tara. Now, Brahma Rashi we know is Abhijit or Vega. And if you want to find out, going backwards in antiquity from today, when was the last time Brahma Rashi, Abhijit or Vega was our pole star? Again, we have to go back by at least 13,000 years, at least to 11,000 BC. In fact, Brahma Rashi, Abhijit, was closest to the point of North Celestial Pole in 12,048 BCE. So let's take that as a 12,000 BC, and from that point plus minus 2,000 years, we may be able to say that Brahma Rashi was considered a pole star. So that defines a time period of from 10,000 BC to 14,000 BC. In terms of the lowest bound, that's 10,000 BC. So let's combine these four references now. What we heard is that if we have to match the evidence of Valmiki Ramayana with the astronomy observation, we would have to go back at least to 11,000 BC, to 11,000 BC, to 11,000 BC, to 10,000 BC. Let's make that date simple for us and make it 10,000 BC. If we understand this scientific testing of Valmiki Ramayana evidence, we should be able to say with a confidence that based on this astronomy evidence, Ramayana did not happen even a day late than 10,000 BC. Valmiki Ramayana has more than 500 and just shy of 600 specific observations that are astronomical, seasonal, chronological in nature, and they can be tested. I have tested all of them, and they lead to this time period. The next step, of course, would be to find out a specific date. Now, I don't have enough time here to explain how I reached there. I would encourage you to read my book, The Historic Rama. But I want to state the day of Ramajanma. That day I have identified as 29th November 12,240 BCE. So to this BCE time period, if we add the 2016 years of Common Era, today we are celebrating 12,256th birthday of Sri Ram. I want to thank Sri Surendra ji for inviting me to talk about the timing of Ramayana. I thank you, all of you, for listening to what I had to say. And in the audience today, there are Professor Rajendra Gupta and also Sri Abhitosh Tripathi. They would be more than happy to talk with any one of you if you have additional questions. And if we have any time left, I will take a quick few questions. If not, again, I wish you the best, and my greetings to you on the day of Ramajanma. Namaskar.